Archives of Prasar Bharati presents the timeless treasure of golden era.
Art is the reshaping of reality by man to present it in an understandable way. As the artist recreates the world around him, it is shaped by how he sees it and what he believes in. The Indian artist did not attempt to depict only the material reality around him. He wished to share the complete experience of the moment, not just the photographic presentation of the shapes around him. Beauty for the Indian artist has been a reflection of the glory of God. In fact, for the ancient artist, the experience of beauty, the ecstasy on seeing nature or art which is truly beautiful, has been considered as akin to Brahmanand or the final bliss. Join us on this journey into the heart of the Indian tradition of painting. Come with us to the gorge of the Vaghora river, where Ajanta was created, to the courts of the Mughals and the Deccani Sultans. Journey with us through the deserts of Rajasthan and the icy lands of Ladakh and Lahaul Spiti. In the verdant south and in the gentle hills of the north, experience the compassionate view of life that is enshrined in Indian painting.
The arid desert land of western Rajasthan is a place steeped in chivalry and romance. It is a land of stories of proud warriors and beautiful princesses. A land of vibrant colors, poetry and song. In days gone by, caravans passed through here, carrying fabled spices and textiles of many lands. In the beginning of the second millennium, this was a land of strife and conflict. The many clans of proud Rajputs who ruled here remained at war with each other and with the changing courts in Delhi. With the coming of the Mughals in the 16th century, a new era of peace dawned upon this land. A vast and cohesive empire was created, which united territories stretching from the east to the west of India. The Mughal Emperor Akbar was an enlightened man and statesman. He consolidated his great empire through a policy of conciliation and alliances. He did not attempt to suppress the zealous spirit of the Rajput chieftains. Instead, he made alliances with them and made them his vassals. They were further integrated into his empire through his policy of marrying the daughters of Rajput rulers. In fact, the Emperor Jahangir was the son of an Amer princess, and his son Shah Jahan was born to a princess of Bikaner. Rajputs were given positions and titles in Akbar's court and allowed to rule their own states under the imperial sway of the Mughal Empire. This led to a period of peace and material prosperity in Rajasthan. It was also a time of the cultural domination of the Mughal court. there was a vigorous new culture and art which was created under Akbar and the other Mughal emperors. This was the model constantly looked up to and emulated by the Rajput chieftains. Marwar, in the westernmost part of Rajasthan, is a land with a rich heritage of folklore and art. It was ruled by the Rathore clan of Rajputs. The early paintings of the Marwar region have deep roots in the Western Indian tradition. These paintings are lively and vital. Jodhpur's association with the Mughals began very early. The ruler Maldev granted Humayun safe passage through his territories in 1542. Akbar captured the Jodhpur fort in 1564, and gradually the area was brought under the direct rule of the Mughals. Uday Singh, popularly known as Mota Raja, was instated by Akbar as the ruler of Jodhpur. The Mughal court made radical innovations in the subjects and the manner of Indian paintings. Whereas in the past only religious and traditional themes were painted, the emphasis now shifted to portraits and the glorification of individuals and their achievements.
The whole idea of portraying an actual person, painting a portrait of a living person as opposed to just painting a picture of a god or a religious story was quite new in the 17th century in India. It was something that was actually introduced, of course, by the Mughals, who in turn really got it from Europe. And it was when the Rajput rulers were serving at the Mughal court that they became exposed to this whole idea of portraiture and the whole concept of what you might call documentary painting, instead of illustrating the religious texts, which is something that had been going on already for several hundred, if not 1,000 years. Now they were thinking that they could start actually depicting themselves and their colleagues and their families in actual documents that depicted them as they really were, although obviously with a little flattering embellishment usually. We can recognize Maharaja Jaswant Singh from this picture, and we see him in many other Jodhpur paintings of the 17th century. This is really, we're talking about the 1640s, this is really the first period at which they start being presented at their own courts, showing themselves to be the centre of power and the centre of attention. And this is a style of darbar painting, as it's called, where all the nobles are clustered around their ruler. And this is something that we're going to see over 300 years, really, in Rajasthani painting. And it's quite interesting to see how that same composition evolves as the local styles start to develop.
In the 17th century, during the reigns of Jahangir and Shah Jahan, portraits became increasingly formal and grand. It was in this period that the equestrian portrait became popular. The dignity of a pose on horseback was ideally suited to the regal manner in which the Mughal emperors wished to be presented. This remained one of the most favoured forms of portraiture in the centuries to come.
The other context in which the Rajput rulers loved to be painted, as well as surrounded by their nobles, was on horseback or hunting, but particularly the equestrian portrait, where the ruler is riding along surrounded by his retinue, became extremely popular in the 18th century. This was something that was basically borrowed, like most of the concepts of Rajasthani painting, was borrowed from Mughal art. First, like everything else, it was the Maharajas who were depicted on horseback. And the portrait of the ruler on the horse continued to be extremely popular. And by the middle of the 19th century, when this painting was done, practically every noble in Rajasthan was having his portrait painted on horseback, surrounded by servants. But here you can see that the horse has become almost a caricature of the rather elegant equestrian style of the Mughal and earlier Rajput period. He's become a very sort of round, wonderful, bouncy-looking horse. And you can see that a style is starting to evolve. Really, in the early 18th century, this is when the Rajasthani schools were really coming into their own and starting to gain their own identities. All sorts of local artists were now experimenting with adapting this Mughal style of portraiture and using a very different sense of colour and design to the Mughal artists. But now we've got this wonderful earthy sort of colour palette and rather angular style of drawing that is starting to become associated particularly with Jodhpur and with Marwar in western Rajasthan. And again, very distinctive are their wonderful tall turbans that you can always tell a Jodhpur ruler of the 18th century by his wonderful turban.
Earlier, the Jodhpur painters closely followed the style of the Mughal ateliers. By the 18th century, a distinct Rajasthani flavour developed in the paintings. The subjects continued to be centred around the glorification of the rulers. But now they were presented in an environment which was distinctly their own. We see the bold use of colours, an ornamental sense of design, and the rich flavour of the culture of Rajasthan.
In this Darbar portrait, we have yet again the favourite scene of the ruler with his nobles gathered around him. But now we're getting towards the end of the 18th century, and it's starting to develop a rather more a less folky style. It's a much more formal style that's evolving, and this is one that we're going to see throughout the 19th century in Jodhpur. These very sort of graphic lines with these wonderful black shields used as an accent throughout the picture. And again, the use of very elaborate trees and floral decorations in the background is something that's quite new, comes up in the late 18th century, but is going to be developed more and more throughout the 19th. A very exuberant feeling, which is very different to the very sort of austere and earthy type of colours that we were seeing early on in the 18th century. And also this brilliant red and yellow is something that's quite new in Jodhpur, but is going to continue to be used later on as well.
Bikaner was a part of Marwar until it became a separate state in 1465. It remained close to the Mughal court, and a Bikaner princess was married to Akbar's son Salim, who became the Emperor Jahangir. She was the mother of Emperor Shah Jahan. Not many paintings were made in Bikaner before the 17th century. by when the Mughal idiom in painting had become firmly established as the dominant style in the country. The paintings of Bikaner present a unique blend of traditional religious themes, painted with a refined and subdued palette. These are quite unlike the vivid and bold colors of the earlier Rajasthani paintings. Many artists who were dislodged from the Mughal ateliers during the rule of Aurangzeb migrated to the Bikaner court in search of new patronage. We see the influence of the Mughal style reflected in the soft blending of colors, the elegant human figures, and the exquisitely finished details of the Bikaner paintings. There is in the best of these paintings a sense of the sublime. A variety of themes found expression, ranging from the eternal religious subjects to scenes of leisure bordering on the decadent.
We don't see very many actual portraits of women in the Rajasthani or Mughal painting context. But what we do start to get, especially in the 18th century, are some rather idealized, rather stylized images of women indulging in what might be seen as sort of courtly pursuits or sort of womanly activities. And this type of small painting of women indulging in things like flying kites or writing letters or hunting or feeding pigeons or whatever, these were often considered suitable gifts for the Maharaja, and they often have extensive inscriptions on the back saying exactly when they were given, on what occasion, and to which ruler. They might be given at Holi or on his birthday or on the date of his accession or whatever. And these small, rather romantic pictures were obviously very, very much in favour for that purpose.
The Kachwaha clan of Amer formed alliances with the Mughals right from the time of Babur. The rulership of Amer was conferred upon them by Humayun. The relationship between the Kachwahas and Mughals was cemented when Akbar married the Princess of Amer. Raja Man Singh of Amer was also a confidant of Akbar and commander-in-chief of his army. The rulers of Amer and Jaipur remained very close to the Mughals, and the paintings of their court very closely reflect the influence of the Mughal idiom. We see here a continuation of the religious and traditional themes. There are paintings of Lord Krishna and many paintings depicting the rags of Indian classical music. These paintings seek to create the mood and ambience which is meant to be evoked by the patterns of musical modes called rags. We see here the borrowed charm and elegance belonging to another style. These paintings are decorative and they lack the vitality of the early Rajput idiom. Kishangarh was founded by Kishan Singh, son of Raja Uday Singh of Jodhpur, in 1609. The city and palace were built on the banks of a lake. Like other Rajput princes of his time, Kishan Singh served in the Mughal army. In 1748, a remarkable patron named Savant Singh ascended the throne of Kishangarh. Kishangarh developed a distinct and unique idiom during the reign of Savant Singh. He was deeply interested in poetry and wrote verses in praise of Radha and Krishna under the name of Nagaridas. Savant Singh was in love with a court singer called Banitani. Here began a very interesting and curious aspect of Kishangarh paintings. The female figures in the paintings, especially those of Radha, are believed to be modelled on Banitani. Savant Singh may have seen the image of Radha in his beautiful consort, and their own love story became that of Radha and Krishna. Thus, in these paintings, Krishna, the divine cowherd, is presented more as a sophisticated prince, and Radha as a self-conscious beauty. The palatial setting of the Kishangarh fort is shown in many of these paintings, with its lake full of lotuses. In the poetry of Nagaridas, and when the sun was setting in the west, the lovers sailed along the Jamuna stream to music from the Sakhis, mingling with the murmuring of each wavelet's crest and the dipping of a single oar. By lotus banks the long canoe its burden bore, past marble palaces and temples gleaming white, and low green hills lie thwart a crimson sky. The painter Nihal Chand is credited with having formed a distinct facial type that came to be identified with the stylized Kishangarh idiom. Radha and Krishna are portrayed with elongated faces, receding foreheads, arched eyebrows, and lotus-like eyes that slope upwards at the corners. These paintings are highly decorative in nature and are quite unlike the simple expressions of divine love in the earlier Rajasthani paintings. In the words of Anand Kumaraswamy, Rajput art is a world where all men are heroic. All women are beautiful and passionate and shy. Beasts both wild and tame. And the trees and flowers are conscious of the footsteps of the groom as he passes by. The miniatures of Rajasthan present a world of vivid colour and chivalry. They have deep roots in an ancient culture, and they present a period which is fast changing under the impact of new and powerful influences. The proximity of the Mughal court and the dominating culture of that great empire are constantly seen shaping these paintings of Rajasthan. Each kingdom has a distinct flavor and takes us into a world of its own. Here was a unique blend of traditional themes and the new technical finesse which was developed in the Mughal ateliers. In the meantime, many Rajput painters travelled to the verdant hills of present-day Himachal Pradesh. Amidst the lush beauty of the gentle hills, the art of painting flowered to produce some of the most beautiful paintings of all time.